All right, we are good to go. Cool. All right, welcome everyone. Um, Welcome to Adam's Apples. It's gonna be a really, really fun episode. We got week 2. We got a full slate of games. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And first of all, how we doing today? How we doing, Ben?
Hey man, it's week 2. I'm ready to get started right before this 1 o'clock Eastern time of the kickoff games. And we're ready to see Adam's apples today. What you got for us today, man?
Love it. And before I forget, we got Deuce backstage running the sticks.
Yes.
Appreciate you guys. I mean, it's early for me, but I appreciate you guys making the time to help me out today. And yeah, should be a great episode. So without any further ado, my first apple, my first good apple of the day is Brees Hall versus Buffalo. The Jets proved they're a running team in week 1, and Brees should continue to excel against the Bills defense, who just got shredded by Derrick Henry. I know it's Derrick Henry, but they just did not look great in the run defense department. Brees Hall just looks like he's just going to be that constant fixture this entire season. Justin Fields feeds off him. Brees Hall feeds off Justin Fields, vice versa. And then Garrett Wilson, who we'll probably get into in a little bit. Also, just it's the three of them. It's a 3-man show, honestly. It's basically what it looks like. Um, and yeah, even if it ends up in a Bills blowout, which for your sake, Ben, I really hope that doesn't happen. He's got a really safe PPR floor, even in a blowout scenario. So if say Buffalo ends up like 20-7 by halftime, I still like Brees Hall to catch like 7 passes and stay involved that way, because I mean, their entire offense is going to be running. So still feel like they're going to try to uh, keep it that way in the second half. Maybe get some more passes to Garrett Wilson. But any thoughts on that real quick, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, I personally loved what I saw from Tanner Armstrong's offense last week. I mean, he put up 32 points. You mentioned Brees Hall, his pass catching ability. I love that from him. But don't forget about Braylon Allen even as well, who can help facilitate that kind of Brees Hall moments as well. Hopefully he doesn't steal touchdowns from some fantasy managers there, but the potential is there for both of them. And, like you said, 3-man show. They're going to be running the ball a lot. The offensive line played well last week, so hopefully we'll see more of that, with Ed Oliver out. The Bills, they still have, Russo and other, players at the line there, but the Jets can still take advantage of this, opportunity with this, three-headed horse here with Braylon Allen, Brees Hall, and Justin Fields.
And that's another great point. Ed Oliver being out, because that's going to be huge. Like, they already got shredded by Derrick Henry in week 1, and now they're going to be without Ed Oliver right in that interior of that defensive line. So yeah, watch for maybe even some more Braylon Allen runs, just right up the gut. And then we have Armand Membu, who's going into his second game, who had
Yep.
the perfect pass pro game where he didn't give up any pressures. So, and I mean, he probably excels in the run game even more than the pass game. So it should be a really fun game to watch, and I just hope the Jets can keep it close, and we get to see that just running game excel. But jumping into number 2, Ricky Pearsall versus New Orleans.
Mm.
Another week, another time where I'm telling you to start Ricky Pearsall, and it's not. I mean, I love the guy. I think he's a really good player, but for me, it's a war of attrition. George Kittle's out. Jawan Jennings, I believe, is playing, but he's been iffy and not practicing with the offense for quite a few weeks over this past month and over this off season. They're without Brandon Ayuk, so I mean, long story short, he's going to get a ton of opportunities, and he should end up around at least 10 targets, maybe more. And New Orleans, no offense to any New Orleans fans. I know Michael's not here, so can
Oh
throw a
no.
little throw a little haymaker at the Saints defense, but it's not
Oh.
good. So they did look all right in week 1, but they don't blow me away. So I like Ricky Pearsall. Even if he doesn't catch a touchdown, the PPR, it's if in these are all for PPR leagues, and I'm basically
Mm.
when I'm generally talking about them, that's what most leagues are now. But even in a half PPR league, Ricky Pearsall is really safe. Yeah, and he looked good in week 1 versus the Seahawks, but doesn't hurt that the 49ers have absolutely no options.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, a different look today, potentially without Brock Purdy. If you get Mac Jones in there, but I feel like it's kind of like a similar situation to, kind of last week. We compare this to, Jackson Smith and Jigba, probably. Obviously not saying that the quarterback was, out, but even if, the part you were saying, even if he doesn't catch the touchdown, he can still get you some numbers there, with the
Most of.
yards after catch ability that Pearsall, that we know he's good for. So, yeah, I'm honestly taking the 49ers today as well over the Saints, and I almost took the Saints, to be quite honest, but
Same.
we're just gonna have to see how that kind of plays out later. Who did you have for your next Adam's apple here, Adam?
Next on my good Apple list, none other than James Conner on the Arizona Cardinals. He's going against the Carolina Panthers. Um, Long story short, get this man in your lineup. On my positional rankings, he's sitting right there as my featured guy at RB12. He could have gone even higher, honestly, but it was a really strong week for running back. So at RB12, I think he's a very, very strong start. Like I said, he's ranked just outside my top 10, but he's a safe back end RB1 or RB2 with tremendous upside. In one of my leagues, I have him as my flex one, but I'm coming off a championship in that league, so he's probably a RB2, or he's a strong RB1 start. I mean, when you're talking about RB1s, you're talking about the top 12 running backs. So yeah, he's a good running back one play. And like I said, flimsy Panthers defense. They were historically bad last year, and it didn't get much better in week 1. Any thoughts on that, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of saw the Cardinals kind of, the Saints still kept it interesting last week, as you said before, talking about New Orleans for a little bit, going up against Arizona there. But, this week, the Cardinals, going up against a new opponent here. The James Conner can get into the mix, and hopefully Kyler Murray can, make an improvement compared to last week. I know that this year is kind of like a, prove it year for kind of Kyler Murray. But I kind of like the Panthers in this matchup against Arizona today. Maybe that's just me. But, not saying that James Conner will have that much trouble with the Carolina defensive line there, but I'm just high on Bryce Young and, all the talk we had before this offseason. And yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm in agreement. I was with you, very high on Bryce Young, but then he just kind of fell back to earth in week 1, and now I'm just kind of worried. I need to see it before I can believe it again.
Mhm.
And the Arizona Cardinals defense is they're pretty sneaky, especially getting Will Johnson. It's absolute
That's
steal
true.
in round 2. And now he's looking like a guy that can just lock up anyone. I don't have Tetro McMillan on my start or sit list, but he's just a guy that I would kind of want to avoid a little bit more this week. But at the same time, the volume's going to be there, so he's probably still going to be a good player. But anyways, moving into my next good apple. You're going to love this, Ben, because I got a lot of Jets on this list. And I think it's, like I said, because
Keep
of the
them coming.
three-man show. But yeah, we're going to go Justin Fields versus Buffalo. I'm actually starting Justin Fields in 2 leagues this week. On my quarterback rankings, he's all the way up at QB6, only behind that big 5 that at QB. And
And that's
Justin
a sight
Fields,
to see.
right? And Justin Fields was a guy I was getting after people had already taken 2 quarterbacks off the boards in some leagues. So I absolutely love him this week. Hopefully my dog doesn't start barking. He just walked into the kitchen. But Fields should pick up right where he left off. The entire offense flows through his rushing ability, like I mentioned when I was talking about Brees.
Mhm.
And we saw that Ohio State reconnection between him and Garrett Wilson. It happened really quickly, and then it continued. The volume's going to be there. Like I said, like it's the Justin Fields show. Like I'm
Yep.
sure he's just loving it, being on the Jets and just having an entire offense actually designed around him. And hopefully he just keeps making the Steelers regret ever trading him, or sorry, regret not re-signing him. And Stephen A even went off on the Steelers, like after Justin Fields looked so good. Like what were they doing? What are the Steelers doing? Why didn't they just re-sign
Mhm.
this guy? Not that A-Rod
Yeah.
didn't look good, but um yeah, when you have a young guy, like why would you not keep him?
Yeah, I think like for me, what's also going to be interesting for this game today against the Buffalo Bills is that I feel like and I keep saying this to all all Jets fans across the metropolitan area, but that the Jets have never had this mobile of a quarterback before. So like, when we're going to go up at teams that we've, always gone up against, but I don't feel like Buffalo, they've never gone against this Jets team with a mobile quarterback. So maybe their game plan is a little bit different this time when you add a Justin Fields into the mix. Like
Hmm.
last week, I told people to lock in that Justin Fields rushing touchdown because I knew that he was going to have to use his legs against that Steelers defense to get into that end zone. So we might see the very same thing today. Nobody's
Agreed.
open. He doesn't, take that long to decide. Hey, I'm about to run with this ball and I'm about to get as many yards as possible. So I expect another big, day rushing the football, from Brees Hall, like we said, but also Justin Fields here.
Yeah, and like that's the Bills. Yeah, they won, and Josh Allen looked amazing, looked like the MVP, but they gave up over 40 points. I
Yeah.
think they have the 27th ranked rush defense right now. So for it could be another high scoring shootout. I think as long as the Jets defense plays pretty good, like they did in Week 1, just keeps it close. Like a week, we could be looking at
Yeah.
another shootout, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. I just hope the DBs lock in today for the Jets. That's all
I,
I'm asking.
I hear you. Yeah, and honestly, it was good to see Sauce Gardner lock in after getting the big contract. I think he was the
Yeah, he had a
third
great game
ranked
last week.
cornerback in Week 1, if not third or fourth. But moving into my next good apple, I've got a lot of good apples. I don't have too many on my sit list today, but
That's a
we're
good thing.
hitting about the 12-minute mark, so I'll speed this up just a little bit. Next one is Emeka Ibuka versus Houston. He absolutely balled out in Week 1. This week, he's my wide receiver 11. I saw some people, I saw this one page put him as high as wide receiver 6.
Dang.
I have another good friend that put him at wide receiver 10. He almost crashed the top 10 for me, but I put him right at 11, right in front of Vlad McConkey, right in front of Garrett Wilson, which, I mean, when you look at that company, it's crazy. Just after 1 week, I have in front of Mike Evans. Mike Evans is sitting there at 17, and I think it's going to be interesting to see who matches up with Derek Stingley Jr.,
Yep.
one of the best cornerbacks in the league. But the way I see it is they're gonna move Mike Evans and they're gonna move Emeka Ibuka around.
Mm,
So no matter what, Emeka Ibuka is gonna end up with a good amount of snaps where Derek Stingley Jr.'s excuse me, not on him. So I think he's gonna have like he didn't have 10 targets in Week 1, but he still was able to get 2 touchdowns. I think he only had like 6 or 7 targets. Nothing crazy, but he's just so good. Like I can't stop saying enough glowing reviews about him. I just love Emeka Ibuka. Like he's my early favorite for offensive rookie of the year. Um, anything else?
yeah, that Texans Buccaneers game is going to be pretty interesting to me. And, me personally, I still had the Rams kind of ranked high last week because Devontae Adams sort of cooked Derek Stingley. I don't know if y'all kind of saw that, but I mean, not saying that'll happen today. Hopefully, I don't expect Derek Stingley to have another off week this week, but we kind of see the similarities here. With the Bucks, you have Mike Evans and Igbuka. Last week you had Puka Nakua and Devontae Adams. So hopefully this Texans defense, it still looked pretty good last week, but hopefully this Texans defense locks in on the Bucks. But I still took the Bucks today for the W. So yeah. I'm
I also
starting
took the
Igbuka
Bucks.
in a couple of my leagues as well. I've stashed him on a lot of my teams. So yeah, I agree with you there, Adam.
Yeah, no, Ibuka's he's just gonna continue doing it the whole season. But moving into number 6, this is a guy he's this is like a deeper league start. But if you have a injury that popped up, or you have a guy that is on my sit list that's going to be coming up or something like that. Kayshon Boutte or Booty, I think it's actually Booty. But either way, on the New England Patriots, he was kind of a forgotten man after they drafted Kyle Williams, after they got Stephon Diggs in the offseason. But this man balled out in Week 1. He was the 5th ranked wide receiver in the entire NFL. I don't have his exact stat line, but he had over 100 yards. He had over 5 receptions. He looked like the wide receiver 1 for the New England Patriots in week 1. So he's got that connection with Drake May. All these things that you love to see. So yeah, he's a great start in deeper leagues with a second flex or a start 3 wide receiver league. Or just if you're just banged up, like sometimes it happens really early where you just have a lot of injuries. Matchup versus the Dolphins, iffy secondary, which I don't know what the Dolphins are doing in week 1, but so it's against an iffy secondary. Like I said, 5th graded wide receiver. Oh yeah, I did actually have it. So yeah, he turned in a 6 reception, 103-yard performance on 8 targets. And he played 82% of the snaps. So that's full-time wide receiver snaps territory. You hardly ever see wide receivers that are actually on the field 100% of the time. But yeah, I love Kayshon Boutte.
Yeah, I honestly expect the Patriots to come out on top to this week against the Dolphins. We saw them have a very bad week last week against the Colts. So, I mean, Patriots. Hopefully, Drake May also looks better today. Kind of had an off week last week, despite losing to the Raiders. I think he's still gonna have a bounce back here. I think
Yep.
Mike Vrabel gets it done today. So yeah, I think Mike McDaniels. A lot of people are gonna start questioning what's gonna happen there and what's gonna happen with Tyreek Hill and etc. But luckily for the Dolphins, Jalen Waddle is back in the lineup today. And I saw you also had A-Chain pretty high on your list. I believe he was number 6. So
Yeah, and some people are like they kind of overlook Achan, but it's coming. Like he's going to have, like, it could happen this week. He could have that 40-point game that just comes out of nowhere where he just has 4 touch. Like when he broke out as a rookie, he just looked like a man possessed. It looked like a video game.
yeah, I mean
Whenever he got the ball.
he ran Raheem Moser out of town, right out of town.
Exactly. So yeah, and you're talking about Drake May. He didn't land in my top 10 for quarterbacks, but if I did do like a 11 to 20, I think I would have had him at like probably QB 11, QB 12. So in 12-team leagues, he's still a good start this week for sure. Or in super flex leagues, if you can get him as a QB 2, that's you're doing something great. Moving into the next one. It's the last jet, but we got to hit the trifecta. Got to get the hat trick. Garrett Wilson. I'll keep this one short and sweet. This one probably goes without saying, but Wilson is a must start. I think I had him at wide receiver 12 or 13. He's a target hog. I couldn't really name any other Jets pass catcher that did anything last week. No offense to the Jets, because the Jets look good offensively. But yeah, Garrett Wilson coming in at wide receiver 13. Could have even put him higher. It's just a logjam of really good receivers once you get around there.
Yeah, nah, you're completely right about that. I mean, outside of Garrett Wilson, I mean, last week we didn't really see much from the wide receiver, department other than a Xavier Gibson fumble. But we also saw, Josh Reynolds, get involved there. But also, I think the tight ends will be a major, focus on this offense as well, with Jeremy Ruckert and Mason Taylor getting involved last week.
Yeah, I want to see some more Mason Taylor. He did have that. He had 1 catch for 20 yards. It looked great. He found the soft spot in the zone.
Mhm.
So yeah, maybe we could see a little bit more Mason Taylor sneaking in there, but there's not much. They brought in. I think they brought up Tyler Johnson off their practice squad last week, and he caught like 2 or 3 passes. So when you're pulling someone off the practice squad like that, like Alan Lazard's not the guy. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's gonna be the Garrett Wilson show again. It's gonna be Garrett Wilson. It's gonna be Justin Fields. It's gonna be Breece Hall. Maybe some Braylon Allen in the mix. But moving on to number 8. This is my guy, JSN. I mean, what else can I say? Like, again, target hog. Like, Sam Darnold had 25 pass attempts. That's it. And JSN had 13 of the targets. So 56% target share is astronomical in college or even in the pros. Like if you're 20 to 30%, that means that's usually what you're looking for in your wide receiver 1. Like if you're to look at the Bucks, you would never have one of them at 50% because you got Mike Evans and you got to make up Buka. But that just shows how important JSN is. And I just think he's going to be an absolute animal again. Cup didn't look amazing. He's still rounding in the form. Maybe Cup has a better game this week, but JSN is going to get a ton of targets. He should continue to be productive. Pitt secondary, it's somewhat of a tough matchup, but JSN plays a ton of snaps in the slot, so he's going to get a lot of easy targets. And yeah,
Apparently, we have also a comment. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
no,
Also, we
you're
have
good.
a comment. Also, somebody's asking if they should start JMO or Waddle. I'm assuming they're talking about Jameson Williams on the Lions versus
Yeah,
Jalen Waddle.
yeah, no, for sure. I would say Jameson Williams. Waddle's actually going to be on my sit list in just a moment. But I think at this point we've seen the Dolphins the Dolphins offense, and it looked abysmal in week 1. I think it's gonna, like, I was high on Jalen Waddle coming into the year, but he's been a little banged up this past week, and also just the offense looks dysfunctional as all get out. So I would avoid Jalen Waddle. Jameson Williams I'm not crazy about, but he could get a 97-yard touchdown on the second play, and his entire day is made. So
Yeah.
I just like the Detroit Lion offense better. Not that it looked amazing, but they have so many weapons that Jameson Williams could get loose, and also he could. They like to run it with Jameson Williams too. He could get a 8-yard jet sweep for a touchdown as well. So not my two favorite options, but of the two, I would go with Jameson Williams. So thank you for the question. And let's see. Moving into my last start of the week.
Yeah, who you got?
We got Hollywood Brown. So we got Xavier Worthy is going to be out this week again. Rashi Rice is still suspended. So I think Hollywood Brown had something like 16 targets in week 1. So Patrick Mahomes is going to look to keep feeding this guy. That massive target share, I think, is going to continue again this week. And yeah, I mean, they're like, Mahomes can only throw to Travis Kelce so many times. Isaiah Pacheco didn't look like a great running back in week 1. So I think it's going to have to go through Mahomes, and I think it's going to have to go through him and Kelce and then Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I mean, I'm stashing Rashee Rice right now in one of my leagues, but yeah, right now Hollywood Brown is the healthiest receiver other than maybe Juju Smith-Schuster on that Chiefs squad. So I mean, that's really the only other person really you're gonna see from the wide receiver room. What's the word? Uh, Consistently, I guess.
Yeah.
And the Eagles are no slouch today, so. That's probably going to be the target that Mahomes trusts the most today. So we'll see how they do against the Eagles secondary. They have a lot of versatile players on that defense. But yeah, I personally have the Eagles against the Chiefs. But we'll see how Hollywood Brown does there.
Yeah, and I'll throw in Juju Smith-Schuster as a desperation play. I added him to like the end of my bench in a couple of best ball leagues, just because, the target volume should be there as well for Juju, with so many guys out. So he's a sneaky guy, especially if you're playing in like some daily fantasy leagues. He's another guy that you could get for pretty much nothing, and
because Jalen
potentially be
Royals is
very
also
happy.
injured as well, right?
Yep, he is also out. So like, it's not much to work with for Patrick Mahomes, but we've seen him work with pretty much nothing and go to the Super Bowl. So still looking for that to be a good game. I do have the Eagles on that one though.
Yeah.
But we are running a little short on time, so I'm going to kind of run through my sits pretty quickly here. But they're pretty easy. So Kenneth Walker, I would avoid him at all costs in this week. I love the
I've
guy,
heard a
but
lot of pain from Kenneth Walker owners
yep,
recently.
10 carries for only 20 yards last week. Zach Charbonnet had 100% of the carries in the red zone. He had, I think, 60 or 70% of the carries or the snaps on third down. And overall, he outsnapped Kenneth Walker in general. Maybe it's just they're just easing Kenneth Walker back in because he didn't do much in the offseason process. But I really think just Zach Charbonnet might just be better. He's more durable. So avoid Kenneth Walker at all costs. My second bad apple of the week is Michael Pittman. He looked amazing week 1, but we didn't have a good defense that he was going against. This week he's going against reigning defensive player of the year Pat Surtain. And there's a good chance that he matches up on him most of the game. Surtain could move around and move on to Josh Downs, but Josh Downs is generally in the slot, so Surtain's probably going to be guarding Pittman on a lot of deep balls. don't expect him to get loose for a big play. Maybe he can salvage a day just on volume alone. But Michael Pittman, I would avoid him. Sit him if you can, if you have better options. Third on my sit list is David Njoku. He was still my tight end 10, but comes with a huge risk this week. I'm still starting him. Actually in a sports podcasters league. I have Brendan Strange on the bench, and I was so close to switching it out, but I think Njoku, he still had 6 targets. It could easily be he gets a few more targets this week, or he just breaks one loose because he's really good after the catch. Joe Flacco, I mean, Joe Flacco threw 9 times to Harold Fannin and 6 times to Njoku, so that's 15 targets to your tight end in 1 week. So I expect that to continue, but because of the uncertainty with Harold Fannin Jr., David Njoku, I would look to avoid because there's generally another tight end you can grab on the free agent wire. And then finishing up my last 2, Baker Mayfield had 3 touchdowns in week 1, but I would look to avoid him this week. The Bucs offensive line could have some problems keeping up with a tough Houston defensive line. And honestly, Derek Stingley, when we mentioned him earlier, I do expect the wide receivers to do pretty well, but Baker Mayfield, I would look to avoid just because I don't expect 3 touchdowns. And he might end up throwing a couple picks as well. And like I said, the Houston defensive line is not one to be trifled with. And he was already one of the most pressured quarterbacks in week 1 against the Falcons. So the Falcons pass rush, they drafted well, getting those pass rush weapons in the draft this year. So Baker Mayfield, I would look to avoid him if you have some better options. 1 league, I was able to pick up Justin Fields, and now I just swapped in Justin Fields, swapped out Baker Mayfield. He's probably going to be starting from most of my games, but sometimes you just got to play the matchups. And last but not least, already touched on this a little bit earlier with the question, but Jalen Waddle. Unfortunately, the Dolphins they don't have much going for them until potentially if Tyreek Hill gets traded later in the season, then that's when I would look to be starting Jalen Waddle. But until then, I would avoid Jalen Waddle as much as you can. And yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. Looks like that was actually the perfect amount of content to get in 25, 30 minutes.
The best,
Ben,
bro.
I mean, thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for
No
joining me.
problem, man. Hey, man. We'll see how this week 2 goes, and we'll see you guys next week. Stay tuned also for my power rankings. I know you guys, 49ers fans and the Vikings fans, you guys were coming for my head, but we'll see how this week goes, man. We'll see how this week goes. Hey, that Atlanta Vikings game is going to be very nice to watch, and then I'll leave it off with this. Jet up, baby.
Love it. And one more special shout out to Deuce, who was helping us out backstage.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what's up, Brandon? Yes,
and shout out
you so much.
The W.
Yeah, tune in to me and Michael's HBCU Sports Talks Day, and also remember tune in to our weekly episode because we are recording today. That's
should be right before the night game. Basically, we're gonna sneak in a little episode there. So stay tuned for later. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Inside the Locker Room TV on Instagram and on YouTube and also on TikTok. Adam B Sports is my personal handle. We got NFL Playmakers for B-Rod, and we got Sports Talks with Deuce. Yes. Thank you so much. Until next time.
Adios.